Have you ever noticed how the deepest betrayals never come from enemies, but from the people you loved and trusted the most? They sit at your table, smile in your presence, and hold your secrets close. Imagine this: a friend who once comforted you in your darkest moment, later repeating your deepest fears as a joke to others, only to turn those very secrets into weapons. And when the mask finally slips, you realize the pain of betrayal is not just in what they did, but in the fact that they were capable of doing it at all. It's like a bridge built over years, stone by stone, steady and strong. But a single fire can burn it down in minutes, leaving nothing but ashes. Or think of a glass vessel, clear, delicate and whole. Drop it once, and no matter how carefully you try to glue the pieces together, the cracks remain. That's the nature of betrayal. It doesn't just hurt, it transforms what once was unbreakable into something fragile forever. Because while some mistakes can be forgiven, betrayal reveals something permanent: character. A person who mocks your pain, abandons you in hardship, or lies to your face has already told you where their loyalty lies. And once loyalty is broken, no apology can truly restore it. So today, we're uncovering the 7 betrayals in relationships you should never forgive. Stay until the end, because the last one will change the way you see trust forever. Let's get started. Number 1. Repeated lies. Let's talk about one of the most damaging betrayals in any relationship: repeated lies. A single lie can shake the foundation of trust, but repeated lies don't just shake it, they destroy it completely. Lies are corrosive. They eat away at the very core of what holds people together. And the hardest part? Lies often start small. They slip out under the disguise of protecting your feelings or not wanting to cause problems. But one lie leads to another, and before long, the truth becomes buried under a web of deception. By the time you realize what's happening, the person you trusted has been presenting a false version of themselves all along. Here's the truth: when someone lies to you repeatedly, they are making a choice to value their comfort over your trust. Every lie is a decision. They may justify it, they may excuse it, but at the end of the day they're saying, "My need to hide, protect myself, or control the situation matters more than our bond." That's not just dishonesty, it's betrayal. Because relationships, whether romantic, family, or friendship, cannot exist without trust. And when someone shows you that they are willing to break that trust again and again, what they are really showing you is who they are. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "The truth is simple." Lies require a web of deception. The beauty of truth is its clarity. It doesn't need rehearsing, it doesn't need covering up, it doesn't need to be remembered. Lies, on the other hand, create complexity. They multiply. They require new lies to cover the old ones. And eventually, the liar becomes tangled in the very web they created. But by then, the damage is already done. The person they betrayed has lost not just trust, but peace. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Amanda, was in a long-term relationship with a man she thought she knew inside and out. At first, the lies were small. He said he was working late when he was really out with friends. He said he forgot to pay a bill when in truth, he'd never even tried. Amanda brushed these things off, telling herself they weren't worth fighting over. But the lies grew bigger. Eventually, she discovered he had been hiding debts, making secret financial decisions, and even lying about where he was on weekends. Each time she confronted him, he promised to change, but he never did. And that's when Amanda realized The lies weren't mistakes, they were habits. And someone who chooses to lie over and over has already chosen betrayal. So, how do you handle repeated lies? First, recognize the pattern. One mistake can be forgiven, but when lying becomes a habit, it's no longer a slip, it's a character trait. Second, stop accepting promises without proof. A liar's greatest weapon is your willingness to give them endless chances. And finally, walk away when trust has been broken beyond repair, because no matter how much love there is, love cannot survive where trust is dead. At the end of the day, repeated lies are not just about dishonesty, they are about betrayal. They strip away the foundation of a relationship until nothing real remains. And once someone has shown you that they are willing to sacrifice truth for convenience, you owe it to yourself to stop forgiving and start protecting your peace. Number 2, disrespecting your boundaries. Let's talk about one of the most painful yet overlooked betrayals, when someone disrespects your boundaries. Boundaries are the invisible lines we draw to protect our dignity, our peace, and our sense of self. They're not walls to shut people out, they're guardrails to remind others how to treat us with respect. But when someone repeatedly ignores or dismisses your boundaries, what they're really saying is, "Your dignity means nothing to me." And that's not just inconsiderate, it's betrayal. Here's the truth. When someone disregards your limits, they're revealing their lack of respect for you as a person. It's not about miscommunication. It's not about forgetting. Boundaries are clear. If you've expressed them and they keep crossing them, it's because they want to. And in their mind, their desires, impulses, or convenience matter more than your peace. Whether it's pushing you into conversations you don't want, dismissing your right to privacy, or guilt-tripping you when you say no, the message is always the same. Your voice doesn't matter here. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "He who does not respect himself will not be respected by others." Boundaries are a reflection of self-respect. If you don't enforce them, others won't honor them. The Stoics believed in discipline, in setting clear limits for yourself and others, because they understood that a person who protects their own dignity commands respect in every room they walk into. But someone who allows others to trample over their boundaries, they invite disrespect again and again until it becomes the norm. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Jessica, had a partner who constantly dismissed her boundaries. She valued her personal time in the evenings to decompress after work. She made it clear she needed that quiet space, but he would interrupt, demand attention, and even mock her for being too sensitive when she asked for alone time. At first, Jessica thought she was overreacting, but over time she realized the pattern wasn't about love, it was about control. By ignoring her boundaries, he was silently telling her that her needs didn't matter. And the more she allowed it, the less respect he showed. Eventually, Jessica walked away, not because of one big fight, but because she realized boundaries ignored are dignity denied. So how do you handle someone who disrespects your boundaries? First, stop excusing their behavior. If you've made your limits clear and they keep crossing them, it's not an accident, it's a choice. Second, enforce your boundaries firmly. Don't just state them, stand by them. If someone mocks, pressures, or manipulates you for drawing a line, that's proof they don't belong in your inner circle. And finally, remember that walking away is sometimes the strongest boundary you can set. If someone refuses to respect your limits, respect yourself enough to end the relationship. At the end of the day, boundaries are not selfish, they're self-respect in action. And anyone who repeatedly ignores them is showing you their true character. Never betray yourself by forgiving those who trample on your dignity, because in relationships, respect isn't optional, it's the foundation. Without it, there is no trust, no love, and no future. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 3. Betraying your trust. Let's talk about one of the deepest and most painful betrayals of all, when someone you trusted breaks that trust. Trust is not built overnight. It grows slowly through consistency, honesty, and respect. It's the invisible bond that makes relationships feel safe, stable, and meaningful. But here's the devastating truth. What takes years to build can shatter in a single moment. One act of deliberate betrayal can undo everything, leaving scars that rarely, if ever, heal fully. Here's the truth. When someone intentionally betrays your trust, they don't just break a promise, they break the foundation of the relationship itself. Trust is the glue that holds connections together. Without it, love becomes fragile, loyalty fades, and respect disappears. You can forgive small mistakes, but betrayal through deception or broken trust cuts deeper, because it isn't about an accident, it's about a choice. And that choice reveals exactly where you stand in their priorities. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca once said, "Confidence in another is destroyed the moment deceit is detected." Notice how he doesn't say damaged or weakened. He says destroyed. That's how fragile trust is. Once it's broken, you can try to patch it, but the fracture lines remain. You may rebuild something resembling trust, but it will never be the same. And the weight of that betrayal often lingers, shaping the way you see the other person forever. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him David, trusted his best friend completely. They grew up together, supported each other through challenges, and shared everything. But one day, David discovered that this friend had been spreading private information about him behind his back. Secrets David had entrusted to him in confidence were being used as gossip for others. When David confronted him, the friend shrugged it off as just talk. But for David, it was more than just words. It was betrayal. In that moment, years of trust vanished. Their friendship never recovered, not because David was incapable of forgiveness, but because the foundation of trust had been deliberately destroyed. So how do you handle betrayal of trust? First, accept the reality. Don't sugarcoat it or make excuses. Betrayal is not a misunderstanding, it's a choice. Second, decide if repair is possible. In rare cases, trust can be rebuilt, but only if the other person takes full accountability, changes their behavior, and proves consistency over time. But often, it's wiser to let go than to live with a bond that has been fatally cracked. And finally, protect your peace. Don't keep handing your trust to someone who has already shown they will break it. At the end of the day, trust is sacred. Once shattered by betrayal, it rarely returns to what it once was. And while the pain may be hard to carry, it's also a reminder you deserve relationships where trust isn't a question. Because real love, real friendship, and real loyalty never require you to doubt if your trust is safe. Number 4, mocking your vulnerabilities. Let's talk about one of the cruelest forms of betrayal, when someone mocks your vulnerabilities. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's courage. To open yourself up, to share your insecurities, your struggles, or your scars, requires trust. It's an invitation for someone to see you at your most human. And in healthy relationships, That trust should be honored and protected. But when someone laughs at your vulnerabilities, dismisses your pain, or uses your struggles as entertainment, they're not acting as a friend or partner. They're acting as an enemy in disguise. Here's the truth. If someone mocks your wounds instead of protecting them, they've already shown you that they don't value your humanity. A person who truly cares will never use your fears or weaknesses as a weapon. They'll shield you from the world's cruelty, not add to it. But those who betray you in this way are telling you, loud and clear, that your dignity means less to them than their own amusement or sense of superiority. That's not love. That's not friendship. It's humiliation dressed up as humor. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "The man who laughs at your wounds does not deserve a place in your life." The Stoics understood that dignity is sacred. A wound may not always be visible, but it's still real. And someone who can look at your scars and respond with mockery rather than empathy has already failed the test of character. Their laughter reveals not your weakness, but their lack of wisdom and compassion. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Michael, once confided in a close friend about his lifelong struggle with anxiety. It had taken years for Michael to open up, and he did so believing his friend would understand. But instead of offering support, his friend began joking about it in front of others, making sarcastic remarks whenever Michael seemed nervous, turning his vulnerability into a punchline. At first, Michael laughed along to avoid conflict, but deep down, it cut him. Over time, he realized that this wasn't harmless teasing, it was betrayal. By mocking his struggles, his friend wasn't just failing to support him, he was actively wounding him further. Michael eventually walked away because he understood something important. A real friend would never laugh at your pain. So how do you handle someone who mocks your vulnerabilities? First, stop excusing it as just a joke. Jokes at the expense of your dignity are not harmless, they're hurtful. Second, confront it. Tell them clearly that your vulnerabilities are not weapons for their amusement. If they respect you, they'll stop. If they don't, that tells you everything you need to know. And finally, remove yourself from their reach. You don't need people in your life who turn your courage into comedy. At the end of the day, mockery of vulnerability is not love, it's cruelty. If someone laughs at your wounds, they reveal their own lack of depth, not your weakness. Protect your dignity, guard your peace, and remember, the people who deserve a place in your life will never laugh at your scars. They'll honor them. If you've watched the video this far, don't forget to leave a comment with a "thank God" and give it a like if you enjoyed the content. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep creating more interesting videos. I hope you find inspiration in them and that we continue learning together. Thank you for your support. Number 5. Abandoning you in difficult times. Let's talk about one of the most heartbreaking betrayals, when someone abandons you in your hardest moments. The truth is, almost anyone can walk with you when life is easy. Celebration, comfort, and joy attract company. But when hardship strikes, when you're grieving, struggling, or weighed down by life's heaviest burdens, that's when people's true character shows. And betrayal is clearest when someone you counted on simply disappears. Here's the truth. Abandonment in difficult times reveals where you truly stood in their heart. If they only wanted to be around for laughter and convenience, then your pain was never part of the deal for them. Real relationships, whether friendships, family bonds, or partnerships, aren't proven in moments of comfort, but in trials. If they step back when you needed them the most, they're sending a clear message. your struggle wasn't worth their effort. And once you see that, it changes the way you can ever trust them again. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca once said, "Adversity does not build character, it reveals it." Hardship doesn't turn people into betrayers, it simply exposes what was always there. The ones who vanish in your darkest moments never truly valued you. They valued the ease of being around you when it cost them nothing. The ones who stay, even when things are messy and hard, are the ones who see your worth beyond circumstances. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Robert, went through a serious illness that left him bedridden for months. At the beginning, friends and colleagues sent messages of support, promising to visit and help. But as weeks passed, the visits stopped, calls slowed, and eventually, only 1 or 2 people still checked in regularly. Among those who disappeared was a friend Robert had considered his closest. For years, they had shared vacations, parties, and happy times. But when Robert needed him most, this friend vanished completely. Later, Robert reflected and realized this wasn't new behavior, it was simply the truth revealed. His friend was only present when things were good. Hardship unmasked the reality. So how do you deal with someone who abandons you in your struggles? First, don't chase them. Their absence tells you everything you need to know. Second, stop making excuses for them. If someone values you, they'll find a way to show up. Maybe not perfectly, but consistently. And finally, shift your focus. Instead of mourning those who left, cherish the ones who stayed. Hardship has a way of clearing out the false supporters and highlighting the genuine ones. At the end of the day, betrayal through abandonment is painful, but it's also clarifying. It strips away illusions and shows you who truly deserves a place in your life. Because in relationships, loyalty isn't tested by comfort. It's tested by difficulty. And anyone who disappears in your darkest hours has already told you their truth. They were never truly with you at all. Number 6, speaking ill of you behind your back. Let's talk about one of the most poisonous betrayals, when someone speaks ill of you in your absence. Loyalty is not proven when you're in the room. It's proven when you're not there to defend yourself. The truest measure of someone's character is how they treat your name when you're not around to protect it. If they praise you in front of you but poison your reputation behind closed doors, betrayal has already taken root. Here's the truth. When someone gossips about you, spreads rumors, or undermines your character behind your back, they're not just damaging your reputation, they're destroying trust. Words are powerful. They can build or they can break. And when those closest to you choose to use their words as daggers, it cuts deeper than any wound you can see. Because betrayal from an enemy hurts less than betrayal from someone you believed was a friend, a partner, or an ally. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The tongue of a traitor is sharper than any dagger." Think about that. A physical wound may heal with time, but the wound of betrayal through words leaves scars on the heart. Lies, gossip, and slander spread faster than truth, and once spoken, they cannot be taken back. The Stoics believed that integrity was not only about how you acted in the open, but how you carried yourself in the shadows. If someone cannot honor you in your absence, they were never loyal in your presence. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Daniel, once had a close co-worker he trusted completely. They often shared frustrations, celebrated wins, and supported each other in projects. But one day, Daniel discovered that this co-worker had been quietly criticizing him to their boss, claiming Daniel wasn't pulling his weight. twisting conversations to make him look careless, even taking credit for some of his ideas. On the surface, the co-worker remained friendly, acting like nothing was wrong, but behind Daniel's back, he was chipping away at his credibility. The betrayal didn't just cost Daniel trust in that person, it changed the way he viewed relationships at work altogether. Because once someone uses your name as a weapon, you never forget the sting. So how do you deal with someone who speaks ill of you behind your back? First, recognize it for what it is: betrayal. Don't dismiss it as harmless gossip. Words have consequences. Second, confront it with clarity. You don't need to match their poison, but you can hold them accountable. Sometimes silence gives slander power. And finally, decide if the relationship is worth keeping. A person who willingly damages your name is not a friend, not a partner, not family in truth. They are a liability to your peace. At the end of the day, loyalty means protecting someone's name when they're not around. If a person cannot honor you in absence, their presence is meaningless. Never ignore this betrayal, because once someone shows you that they are capable of turning your trust into gossip, you've already seen their true face. And as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, their tongue is sharper than any dagger, so protect yourself accordingly. Number 7, manipulating you for their gain. Let's talk about one of the most calculated forms of betrayal, when someone manipulates you to serve their own interests. This isn't an accident, and it's not a misunderstanding. Manipulation is deliberate. It's when someone uses your kindness, loyalty, or trust as tools against you, bending situations to their advantage while making you believe it's for your benefit. On the surface, they may appear supportive, caring, even generous. But behind the scenes, every word and action is part of a strategy, designed to get what they want at your expense. Here's the truth. Using kindness as a weapon is not a mistake. It's a strategy. Manipulators are skilled at disguising control as care. They may guilt-trip you into doing things you don't want, twist your words to make you feel responsible for their problems, or shower you with affection only to withdraw it when you don't comply. Over time, this kind of behavior doesn't just drain you, it rewires you to doubt yourself. That's the most dangerous part of manipulation. You stop trusting your own judgment and start relying on theirs. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "The wise man does not allow himself to be a pawn in another's game." Think about that. To the Stoics, wisdom wasn't just about philosophy. It was about clarity of vision. A wise person sees through manipulation and refuses to be played. When someone tries to use you as a pawn, you have two choices: continue being part of their game, or step back and reclaim your freedom. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Emily, had a partner who seemed incredibly attentive at first. He'd constantly remind her how much she meant to him, how he couldn't live without her. But over time, Emily noticed something darker. Whenever she tried to set boundaries, like spending time with friends or focusing on her career, he would guilt-trip her, saying things like, "If you really loved me, you'd put me first." He'd highlight everything he had sacrificed for her, making her feel indebted. Slowly, Emily began giving up parts of her life to keep him happy. It wasn't until she confided in a trusted mentor that she realized what was happening. He wasn't loving her, he was controlling her through manipulation. That's when she chose to walk away, and for the first time, she felt free. So, how do you handle manipulators? First, learn to spot the signs. If someone constantly makes you feel guilty, questions your judgment, or twists situations to their benefit. It's not care, it's control. Second, create distance. Manipulators thrive on access to your emotions. When you step back, their power over you weakens. And finally, reclaim your agency. Remind yourself that you are not responsible for carrying their burdens or fulfilling their desires at the cost of your own peace. At the end of the day, manipulation is betrayal disguised as love or loyalty. Those who use you as a pawn reveal that they never saw you as an equal partner, but as a tool. And once you see through their game, the wisest move you can make is to walk away. Because a relationship built on manipulation is not a relationship at all. It's a trap. If you believe this video can help others, give it a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show it to more people. And don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content coming your way. Share your thoughts in the comments. I will definitely reply.